Hi everyone, and welcome back to Her Travel Expert. I'm Megan.
And I'm Eden.
And happy belated Thanksgiving, everybody. We are actually recording this on a Black Friday. Instead of being out and about shopping, we're recording a podcast.
Devoted podcasters.
This Thanksgiving came together kind of last minute. If I'd known that we were all going to end up with a few days off, then we definitely would have gone on a trip. Sadly, I did not know that, and your brother did have school this week, so he didn't have that much time off. But yeah, typically anytime we have 4 or more days, we're out of here. So
Yeah.
But here we are at home, so we might as well talk about travel since we're not traveling.
Yeah, speaking of Thanksgiving turkey, today we're talking about turkey.
Now, if y'all haven't met Sophie, this is our little dog, and she's home for the holidays too.
Yeah, she's here for the podcast. She has much travel wisdom.
No, we never take her anywhere. She gets boarded. But yeah, no, the reason I don't recommend the tour company is I did no research when I picked out the tour. I saw a good deal on Tour Radar, which I do recommend. They are a good website for booking tours, but they're not necessarily the tour operator. They're a third party entity where you can like compare a bunch of different tours. So with no knowledge about Turkey and no research on tour operators in Turkey, I booked a flash sale that came to my email in June. I was like, oh, we're already going to Europe, and we were doing a little bit of new stuff in Europe, but some of it wasn't new, and I wanted a whole new experience. So I was like, I impulsively booked this Turkey deal, and I think the 6-night tour, like 6 nights, 7 days, I got for about $700 or $800 per person. So for the 4 of us, how much can I complain about the actual tour? As we describe the tour, though, there are certain things that we're going to mention, like scams and whatnot, and you'll see why I'm unwilling to recommend them. But these are common scams in the country, so you might have to worry about it no matter what group tour you go on. I don't know, since it's the only one we've done.
And in other countries, too. But yeah, no, ultimately, like, I was super glad you booked the trip to Turkey. I know you didn't know as much about it, but there were certain spots in Turkey that had been on my bucket list for a really long time that I had read up about. And so I was super excited we would get to go, spend 6 days there, plus 2 days in Istanbul. And aside from some of the problems we had and some of the scams, as you mentioned, it was one of the most unique experiences we've ever had traveling, and had some of the best, like, adventures and experiences, and some of the best food. I absolutely love Turkish food. So it ended up being a really good trip, but we learned a lot.
We did learn a lot. But I think bucket list is the right way to describe it. It is a bucket list trip because there is such a vast array of things to do. I mean, hot air ballooning, plus a bunch of other stuff we did. But yeah, so back to Istanbul. So we started in Istanbul, and most trips will start in Istanbul. Mm-hmm. Most major air carriers are going to bring you into Istanbul. And so Istanbul wasn't included in the tour. It just started and ended there. So it was my responsibility to get us to Istanbul. That wasn't included. So once we were in the country, most tours include flights internally within the country, but they don't necessarily include flights to the country. So we were coming in from Italy. It was a really easy trip from there. We had flown to Italy prior, cruised in and out of Italy, and then just headed over to Turkey. And then luckily on the way home, Turkish Airlines has a direct flight from Istanbul back to Dallas, so we were able to fly direct. But yeah, so in Istanbul, we had to come up with like our own thing to do, and luckily I'd had a friend that had been there prior, and I saw her go do like a day trip or a day tour, and it was so good. I reached out to her. This is Explore with Aaron.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, I got to know who'd you do that with? Is Istanbulite? Is
Istanbulite?
Yeah.
Like, Istanbulite.
Okay, prepare for me to say every word incorrect.
I know, it's so hard. The Turkish, and like even different people in different cities within it will spell and say it differently. So it was hard to nail down the Turkish.
Oh yeah, we heard Cappadocia.
Cappadocia?
And Cappadocia.
Yeah.
I think we heard it 3 different ways on a regular basis.
And spelled 3 different ways.
And when we were there, they pronounced it all 3 ways, and we're like, to this day, I do not know.
Yeah.
I say Cappadocia.
Cappadocia is the easiest in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, back to Istanbul lot. So we did a It's like their layover tour. If you went to book this tour, which I would recommend, it was a great tour. Um, they picked us up in
a very large like a
Sprinter.
luxury van.
Yeah, were we in a G-Wagon or
Oh, I
what
couldn't
were
tell
we
you.
in? I mean, a really nice vehicle. Really nice.
Which was good because we were like exhausted from the flight and all our previous travel.
Well, and we're also exhausted because we chose to do this in July, probably the worst month of the year to do this. It's hot. I mean, real hot.
It's important to note when we had been traveling through Europe on that cruise, a massive heat wave had hit Europe, and so it was about the most hot, humid trip we've ever taken. And then as we got down to Istanbul, the news was like, heat wave coming into Turkey from Europe. So we got the entire heat wave for like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, we nailed it.
It was, oh my god, I don't think I've ever sweat more in my life than that trip. It was insane.
Yeah. But so they basically take you in this van, whatever it was, over and drop you off. And we kicked it off, I think, at one of the major mosques.
Yeah. So we went into part of the old city or the older part of town. And we got to see the Hagia Sophia, which was on my bucket list. You know, world famous grand mosque. I'm sure you've probably seen it in pictures. So I was really glad we got to start the morning there at the Hagia Sophia. We entered. You have to be covered and stuff, but they had coverings that you could get.
So we knew that we were going to be doing this ahead of time. So we had scarves with us. So Eden and I had to wrap our heads. The boys did not. And then we also had to have our legs covered. So we had some coverings from previous trips into Thailand or Sri Lanka, I think. And so they're these really thin, light wraps that you can easily tie around your waist, and that way everything's covered.
The saris.
Is that what it's called?
I think
Sari?
so. I could be wrong.
Yeah, and then the scarves for our heads. And I mean, it was hot. So you didn't necessarily want to walk around completely covered all day. I mean, we're wearing shorts. I will say one thing, that when we did get into the mosque, we had to take our shoes off, which is common. And I think I have flip-flops on, which means I'm walking around barefoot. And I wish I had worn tennis shoes so that I at least had my socks on.
Yeah, we had to take our shoes off, but it was super beautiful inside. Again, all of our tour guides along the trip were super knowledgeable. That was something I appreciated. It was just like an unending flow of information. I'm kind of a nerd, so I was listening to everything. I don't know about the boys, though. But, yeah,
The boys are getting selfies.
But yeah, the architecture and everything of the mosque is super cool. And they had these huge discs with like Arabic on them. They were massive. They were up on like the walls. And they told us about how those were built inside the actual mosque because they couldn't get them inside.
The fact that you can remember that's phenomenal. I remember the chandeliers were they candelabras or chandeliers?
I don't know what you call them.
Yeah, they're just, I mean, these massive chandeliers. Just, I mean, it's dripping with beauty when you go inside these. And a huge bummer is that they were right across the street is the other famous mosque.
The Blue Mosque.
But it was closed when we were there.
It was being renovated, yeah. No, it's famous for the Turkish Iznik tiles, but sadly we did not get to see that.
One thing that we did get to do is the Grand Bazaar, which I think is a must-do. So that was part of the tour where she walked us through. And so that's, if you've ever seen like the crazy market with like all the vendors and all the spices and the olives and the... What else? Beans, I don't know, but just everything.
Plus a bunch of restaurants. Again,
Yeah.
this was the Istanbulite food tour, so we were absolutely stuffed by the end of it. At the Grand Bazaar, we stopped by a Euro place, a kebab place, and we got kofta. We sat down at a restaurant, and they got us food from a restaurant here and across.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so
we get to try two places at the same time. Yeah, and it was really busy, but I mean, we managed to pretty much always find a seat. I was really run down, and so I asked for a coffee. So I had my very first Turkish coffee, and that is not what I wanted, but that's what I had.
Turns out I love Turkish coffee.
Yeah, I don't like it. She does. It's very small. It's this tiny little coffee, and I would say it's like sledge.
Sludge. Yeah.
Sludge.
It's
Drinking. It's like I'm drinking the coffee grounds. Very thick.
Very small, but very strong. I loved it.
Yeah, I had one and I was like, no, thank you. I don't want another. So, which is funny because I like is it Lebanese coffee? No.
Oh, you like Vietnamese coffee?
Well, I love Vietnamese coffee. That's real good.
That's
It's nothing like that.
completely different.
No, what's the coffee we had in Brooklyn? Yemeni.
Oh, Yemeni coffee. Yeah, that was super good.
Yeah, but it's more like normal coffee than this.
Yeah, the Yemeni coffee, it's almost softer because they put like cardamom and other like spices and stuff in it.
So that is not what you're getting when you order the Turkish coffee. You're getting a very thick. You can chew it. No, I'm exaggerating.
when you get to the bottom, yeah. But no, it's good. I like it personally. I actually didn't really drink coffee before, but the tour was not the Istanbulite tour, but the 6-day tour we did. It was very go, go, go. We would start early in the morning and have all sorts of stuff to explore all day. So we truly did see a ton of the country and got to like learn so much. But that is when I started drinking coffee. I started drinking the strong Turkish coffee and then never stopped.
That's funny. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's really funny. Another stop that I really liked was when we went into that underground cistern.
Oh, yes, yeah. So after exploring the Grand Bazaar and the Spice Bazaar, they then took us to the underground Basilica cistern, which is one of these super old cisterns that runs under the city of Istanbul. And so you'd think, oh, it's just a place where they hold water underground. Right, but you actually like descend down the steps into the darkness, and what they recently did to it is that they turned it into kind of a light show. And so we walked in at like the perfect time when the lights had kind of just reset or whatever, and so we got the whole experience. You've got like laser beams and colorful lights, but it still had this like really cool energy down there in this like dark echoey cistern. And it was filled with like hundreds of columns that hold it up, and all the columns were different because they had like salvaged them. I believe it was the Byzantines or whoever built the cistern had salvaged all the columns from different old Roman and Greek structures. So you had a bunch of cool different designs. I believe there was like the Medusa head and some other stuff going on that was cool.
Plus, I think they put some art down there, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
different art from
so obviously the cistern
ruins.
isn't full. There's about a foot or so of water at the bottom.
Yeah, and there's a platform, so you're walking over it.
Yeah, so you're walking over a platform through the whole thing, but throughout they've also put up art installations from Turkish artists, so I thought that was super cool.
I don't remember that part, but I do remember that at one point all the lights went off. You can't move once it's pitch black. I mean, you can't see anything, which is still really cool. Like, it's a really interesting, unique experience. I didn't know anything about a cistern. I didn't know about the way they managed water.
Oh yeah, and they told us about all the warfare, people like poisoning the water and stuff like that. I don't know. I can't give y'all the whole tour, but lots of cool information.
Okay, so then we went back to food. So it was kind of like you saw a really cool sight, then you had food, then you saw another cool sight, then we had some more food. And they took us to a sweet shop. So one thing I didn't know about Turkish people is they love candy.
They love sweets.
There were candy shops everywhere. I mean, everywhere, which probably the most I've ever seen in any country we've been to.
And I have a sweet tooth, but man, like, again, they took us to one of the oldest, I think it was from like the 1700s, this sweet shop where they sold all different kinds of really colorful Turkish delights. So we got to fill up a box with all the different kinds, and I had never had Turkish delight before. So I came with an open mind. Again, I have a sweet tooth, but I tried a few of the different ones, and it's just, Turkish delight is essentially like pure sugar, so it was, I couldn't handle it. And then we also went to a baklava shop.
Yes, a very famous baklava shop.
And it was called
Karakoy.
Karakoy. I don't know.
Gula glue.
Dude, I cannot with the Turkish names.
It'll be in the notes because these are, or just book the tour and they'll take you there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I guess the nice thing is like, I didn't know, we had never had Turkish food, I don't think. Had we? Before we went to the country?
I mean, we've had various other, like, Middle Eastern and Mediterranean food, but not, like, traditional Turkish food.
Yeah, so, you know, for her to, she went in and she picks out the candy we ate. And she went in and she picked out the baklava we had. And then we ordered baklava, and I think we chose 4 different kinds, I think.
Yeah, we chose...
We couldn't even finish it.
There were some, like... baklava with like hazelnut and cream or pistachio, and yeah, we each tried a bit of each, but they were, again, it's so sweet. And I've had baklava in other places before, but this...
Yeah, the baklava you get in America is not the baklava you're going to get in Turkey. I mean, it is so sweet. You only need a very small portion. You think, oh, that's too small, I need more. No, you don't. So we've got our 4 pieces, because there are 4 of us. And we couldn't finish them. And I could tell our tour guide's like, really? You're not going to finish it? I'm like, we physically can't. Like, my teeth hurt. So I quit eating baklava during the trip because it would make my teeth hurt because there's just so much sugar in it.
It could also have been that we ate so much on the food tour. Again, they had already stuffed us full of, like, kofta, kebab, pita bread, and the yogurt. I love the thick yogurt over there.
And then we tried the unique pizza.
Oh yeah, the pide. They took us to a pide place. It's like pizza, but it's a flatbread with, you can choose a variety of different ones, but with cheese or various meats and stuff. It was super good. But yeah, we were so full, and then to have something so sweet. But yeah, it was a really good tour.
Then afterwards, because we haven't eaten enough, we went back to our favorite restaurant. And you're like, how do you have a favorite restaurant if you've been there one day? Well,
we went twice.
Yeah, when we flew to Istanbul, we went to the hotel. We asked for a recommendation, I think. Did we ask for a recommendation?
We did.
And I think they pointed us to like a street, like a cool looking street.
Yeah, it was kind of a more modern area. Again, we had kind of been in the old city or the older part of Istanbul for most of the day for the food tour.
So people will say that Turkey is like partially in Europe and partially in Asia. That's not really true. Most of Turkey is in Asia. It's only a portion of Istanbul that is European. Mm-hmm. So, and am I right that you cross a bridge and you're in the Asia part? And then, so, of course, I've never been there before. I just I used Marriott reward points and booked a hotel. Adnan Hotel or Adon? It's an autograph hotel by Marriott. Mm-hmm. It was really nice. And it was near this area, so we were walking through this area, which ironically our tour kind of went through there earlier in the day, and we're like, oh, we were here yesterday. We found this place last night. And it's
Antioquia or Antiochia? I don't know.
It'll be in the notes.
Let's say Antioquia, but it was delicious.
But it was almost like they could tell these people don't know what to order. You know, we're looking at the menu.
It was a big restaurant. It had like... It was huge, and it had, like, rustic vibes. It was all, like, brick. But it was mostly empty when we were there, so that was nice.
Yeah, because I think we're still, like, on the wrong time zone, so we were eating pretty early.
Yeah, it was early.
Then we ate later, and there were more people the second time we went. There were several tables that were full at that point. But we ate a lot of food, like a lot of meze.
Yeah, they helped us pick out some things. So we ordered this, like, fried cheese, and then we picked out a bunch of meze, so the typical like yogurt and hummus plus like all the other meze that I don't know what it's called, but it was all very good.
Wait, so much food.
And we got like these lamb chops. I absolutely love lamb. It's like one of my favorite things. It was delicious. And then they brought out like little wraps and stuff like that, and a dessert that was completely unidentifiable. I have no idea what that was.
But again, like all the sweets there are amazing. So I felt very, very comfortable walking around the Marriott area that we were in initially with you guys. I didn't feel as comfortable that when we came back through, and we walked way down a hill and then we got way up it.
Oh my god, yeah.
Anyway, so it's too much for me. I'm too lazy, so I can't handle that. Okay, so then the next day, that's our first day in Turkey. So that was a pretty full day.
We really blasted through it, but I'm glad it's hard to do Istanbul in a day. It's a massive city.
It really is.
But
And it's congested. There are people everywhere.
mm-hmm.
So to knock out all that and see that much, that's why I highly recommend that particular tour. So then from there, the next day we start our group
6-day group tour.
So did they pick us up or did we have to go to the airport? I think they picked us up.
I don't recall.
Well, whatever. Somehow we ended up back at the airport and we fly to Cappadocia.
Yeah, flew Turkish Airlines to Cappadocia, which
very short flight.
Which quickly became my favorite airline because they serve you like a little caprese like sandwich with like fresh tomato and mozzarella on it. And personally, that might sound silly to make it my favorite airline.
It's better than that tiny bag of pretzels you get on the other ones.
No, but you don't know. As someone who travels so often, a few things make you feel as sad as getting like the Biscoff cookies that are just like pure sugar disintegrating in your mouth.
I can't even eat them in other circumstances.
I know, I can no longer. When I was a kid, I loved the Biscoff cookies, and I know a lot of people like the airplane cookies. But when you travel a lot, they become like the bane of your existence. When you're like starving on an airplane and
you're like, I don't want this cookie.
Here's a bar of pure cookie, or here's the tiniest bag of pretzels you've ever seen that has a whole 50 calories to get you through the next several hours.
Yeah, so this little sandwich, the sandwich.
Turkish Airlines gives you a nice, warm sandwich.
Yeah.
And that made me very happy.
Such a little thing to ask for, but that's better than some of the cold breakfast I get on overnight flights coming back from Europe on American. Sorry, American, I fly you all the time, but what is up with this? The breakfast comes in like a little bag now, and I pull it out and it's a yogurt. It's got like a little tiny thing of granola you could pour in the yogurt, but it's full of walnuts, so I can't eat it. And then, what else is usually in there? I don't know. Something that I don't want to eat. I'm like, what kind of crap breakfast? Used to you'd at least give me some like crappy eggs or something, but no. No. So yeah, now I get it with the Turkish airline.
But yes, flew my favorite airline, very trip flight, very early in the morning as well. But we flew into Cappadocia. It's very beautiful flying in because you see like all the mountains and valleys. And Cappadocia is famous for
a lot of things.
A lot of things. But if you've seen the fairy chimneys, those unique like
they look like mushrooms, kind of.
It's because that whole kind of valley. Our tour guide explained it to us thoroughly. That whole valley was created by a series of like volcanic eruptions, which created like soft layers of rock. So the whole area is super pretty, like, and in the early hours of the day with the sun rising or the sunset, everything looks very like rose pink and pretty. And so you can explore the cave cities there. That's where you can ride a hot air balloon and everything. So we were super excited to fly into Cappadocia. They took us to a cave hotel to stay, which was very pretty and had kind of like romantic vibes. There was even like the tub was in the shape of a heart. However, there was no air conditioning, which is, I thought you were gonna die.
It was very hot. Again, we're there in July, so probably most of the year it's not so bad, but it was really hot in our room. It was interesting because it's built into, these cave hotels are like kind of built into the side of these cliffs. Mm-hmm. And so it's a real bizarre structure. So to get to our room, we like walking down steps. Again, you want to bring a carry-on, y'all. Do not bring a bunch of luggage. You can always have your laundry done somewhere. And so, you're going down these stairs. So we descend down, and then we're in like this cool room. We actually hot tubbed in the bathtub, because it's not like we could. It's not like we're gonna take a bath in front of each other. That's weird. So instead, we put on our swimsuits, and we're like hot tubbing in there. Which I thought was fantastic. So we
not the first time.
No, it's not the first time, and it won't be the last.
All this talk about sweating constantly.
I know, but then
we still chose to take a hot bath.
I'm from West Texas. What can I say? I like the heat. But the boys, their room is like around the building. Like,
yeah,
they're nowhere near us, which I was like, really? Y'all couldn't have put us in a couple of rooms closer to each other? But it was a really neat restaurant, or really neat hotel, and it did have a breakfast restaurant. We hit the buffet, and we had a lot of buffet. That's a pretty common thing there, especially at lunch when you're on these tours. all the tours were stopping at the same restaurants at these massive buffets. We didn't do dinners with the group tour. We only did lunches. So breakfast typically on your own, and usually the hotel included it. Lunch was usually like a buffet
Mm-hmm.
or some sort of sit down where you only have a few options.
Yeah,
to choose
just a
from.
traditional
Yeah,
Turkish.
prearranged. But then on dinner, you're on your own, and so we would walk into town, and I always felt comfortable walking around. I felt like it was a really safe area.
Yeah, it was super safe.
Yeah. And then so they took us to the Jerome Open Air Museum. Was the very first stop. The morning that we got
which
there.
I wasn't sure what that even meant. Open air museum. That just meant we were going to see some of the cliffs and caves where people used to live, which was super cool. Again, that rock was so soft that there were entire civilizations in Cappadocia just built it into the.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this was a house, this was a church. I'm like, huh, okay. And then they're like, and this is where all the pigeons lived. And they're like all these holes where they have all these pigeons. And they said that these pigeons would deliver messages. I'm like,
yeah, they said they used the pigeons for a bunch of stuff, including messages, but they would also use
their poop
for
painting, yeah.
Yeah, which I did not know.
And their eggs.
For the stucco they would do. So they, at the museum, at the open air museum, again, you get to explore these caves and stuff like that. But we also got to see one of the oldest Christian churches that was ever built, which is super cool. I didn't realize when we first went to Turkey that there was so much, not only so much Muslim history, but so much Christian and Jewish history there as well. It makes sense now that I'm older and I know more, but it was just a really fascinating trip. And so, yeah, we got to see one of the oldest Christian churches, including like there's a cross just like carved into the stone ceiling, and they have a bunch of stucco that is still, you can still barely see the paint and stuff like that, but it's still there.
And it was made with pigeon poop.
Yes.
What I didn't know, until we went to Cappadocia, is that as Christians fled certain areas, they fled to Turkey to hide from the Romans. So they fled into Cappadocia. So one of the things we got to do, this wasn't at the Jerome Open Air Museum, but in a different part of the city, they keep finding these underground cities. And I think they said they found 8 of them now.
There are a bunch of them that they've discovered.
Yeah.
But the one we went to was one of the largest.
Yeah, it was huge. And they would only let us go 4 levels deep, like 4 stories deep. And they would show you where they made wine, because they would live underground.
Yeah, so
when the Romans were coming in. So to escape persecution, they'd all hide underground, and they had like a ventilation system. They could make wine in there. They could live in there. I mean, but there was a lot of them living in a room together. But
a lot of them. Yeah, it was crazy. So that was our second or third day. The first day we arrived and got to our hotel and did the open air museum, which is super cool, and kind of got the basis of our understanding of Cappadocia. And then the next day we started the morning with. Actually, did we do the hot air balloon that night, the first night or the second night?
We did that. We woke up at like 3 a.m. to do the hot air balloon. Oh, and ironically, when you get up to do the hot air balloon, it's freezing outside. I'm like, why is it so hot in our hotel when it is freezing outside, and we don't have winter clothes with us? So I'm like, this better be an epic experience, because I am freezing.
So yeah, you can do the hot air balloon experience. Mom and I opted to do it. The boys chose to sleep. Fair enough.
And it's a long process. They wake you up incredibly early.
Yeah, we woke up around 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And again, it's cold out, which we were not prepared for. It is the desert, so it just drops overnight. So that is something to keep in mind if you want to do the hot air balloon experience, which you absolutely should do. I cannot believe the boys didn't come with us.
So I had never been in a hot air balloon, and I never really had the desire to go on a hot air balloon. I felt like it wasn't super safe, but we're there. Eden wanted to do it, so I'm like, well, she can't do it alone. So off we go. I wasn't like opposed to doing it. It's not.
It was hard because we were so tired from the travel, and they told us we had to get up at 3 a.m. to pick us up in a van and then they drive you out into the desert in the dead of night. Like, you can't see anything.
I mean, there's other people with you in the van.
There's other people with you, but we didn't quite know where we were going, and they drive you out into the area alongside a ton of other vans and tour groups as they...
And then you wait a long time.
You wait a long time in the cold, in the dark.
I'm like, why couldn't y'all air these up first and then bring us out? I don't know the process, and I don't know if it's because you're like figuring out how many people have actually shown up for it versus how many balloons are going up in the air. They pack these balloons full.
It's a whole process. Plus, it was super cool to be there and watch.
It was really interesting.
To watch them, because when they get it up and you get that first burst of the flame in the dead of night.
I'm like, yes, it's so warm.
It was so warm.
How close can we get to the flame?
And so, yeah, as the balloon is filling up and the basket is huge. Again, they fit like numerous people in a tour group into a big basket. It's in multiple sections, so Mom and I were in one section of the basket with maybe one or two other ladies.
Two other ladies that were like rude and hogging the edge. It's hard for us to get pictures. And then I took great photos of them. And then when I asked them to take our photos, it's like the worst photos I've ever seen. I'm like...
I looked like the Crimson Chin.
Oh
they used the wide, so... Because they were so close to us in the basket, but they used the wide camera, my chin.
We looked at foreign, it doesn't make any sense. I'm like, thanks, ladies.
But yeah.
They do a GoPro, though, on the experience, so you can pay to get a SIM card of that. And I did pay for it, and it was okay footage. I mean,
but yeah,
I probably wouldn't have bought the footage again.
That was really awesome. I believe they gave us a little snack.
They did. Beforehand, we had the snack on the ground, and then when you land, they gave us champagne, I think. Like a glass of champagne.
Oh, I don't remember. I was a child.
And a certificate, like we had earned something. I'm like, can we just be done? But, it was really peaceful. Being in a hot air balloon is very, very peaceful. It wasn't scary at all. And I hate heights.
It sounds stupid, but you're expecting almost like turbulence or some sort of like lift off or something, but no, you literally just like nothing float off the ground. And so we're floating up as the sun is rising over the cliffs and the mountains, so everything is like pink and orange and gold, and you get to see all the other hot air balloons all around you. It was like one of the most...
Yeah, literally. You could look in every direction. It's just full of hot air balloons.
Yeah, hundreds of really colorful hot air balloons.
And then on the ground, you see these ladies in their dresses, their fancy dresses, because they're like taking Instagram photos in the flowy dresses with the hot air balloons in the background. I'm like, would you rather have that photo or be in the balloon? I personally would rather be in the balloon.
It was the best. I would love to do that again. That was one of the best things we've done, in my opinion.
Oh gosh, it was so great. I was so mad at myself for not forcing both of my sons to do it. If I had, there's so many times when we do something and it turns out to be so much better than I thought. I'm like, I can't believe we weren't all there or we didn't all do it. But I mean, you just live and learn. Nobody had ever really talked to me about a hot air balloon. I don't think I've ever. I didn't know anybody that had done one, or if they had, they never mentioned it. But yeah, I thought it was a really great experience. It's a bucket list experience.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think if you're in Cappadocia,
whatever
it costs, and it's expensive.
Yeah, but I think you get your money's worth though, because you're in the air for a very long time. Yeah. It wasn't a short experience or whatever. Like, we got to see the whole sunrise and float all over. Like, you could see for miles and miles.
Oh yeah.
And then the landing, though, we have to talk about the landing.
The landing, they're like, everybody get down.
This is something I didn't think about until they're like, okay, get ready for landing. And I'm like, wait, how does this work? And so
there are a lot of people in this basket.
As we're slowly descending and descending and descending, they're like, okay, everyone grab onto one of the handles in the basket and crouch down. And so you kind of come flying down, skidding to the earth, and you like just hit the ground.
You hit the ground.
You go sliding, you bounce a couple times. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, they had it under control.
I mean, nobody's going to get hurt, but...
They had it under control. They've done it a ton of times, but...
It was not a subtle landing.
Oh, yeah. It was a bit rough.
I feel like some people screamed.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, they definitely did. But it was awesome. It was a ton of fun. After hot air ballooning, I believe we spent that first morning, we got coffee on a hilltop overlooking the Uchisar Castle or fortress. But yeah, I was mainly there for a quick stop and a photo opportunity, and then we spent...
Yeah, because it's set up for Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
They had swings, so you could get a shot like swinging with the fortress in the background, and then they had like the name of something.
They had the big Cappadocia sign.
Oh, it's spelled completely different. That's
yes.
so confusing. You're right, it did say Cappadocia. And then they had like one, I have a picture of Jonah sitting on one, and it's like, what is it, a bunch of locks or something? Or very Instagrammable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, super Instagrammable location. So
we already touched on the underground city a bit, but you go in, there's a main entrance, and then if you're claustrophobic, this is not for you, because there are these super tight, small underground tunnels. Some of them you even have to like duck all the way down and go down a super long passageway underground to get to the rooms that they carved out. And they had these huge stone doors as well that they would roll in front of the entryway.
No way the Romans couldn't get in and kill them.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it was a super interesting tour. It was a lot of fun going through the tunnels and the caves, but even I got a little claustrophobic going down that tunnel at the end because we were fully crouched down going through there.
But a lot of the rooms, like once you're in the rooms, you could stand up fully.
Mm-hmm.
So the rooms that people lived in were carved out. So it's funny, I just saw a story on the internet about these underground cities in Turkey, and it was some made up reason as to why they have these cities there. And,
some conspiracy.
Yeah, it's some recent conspiracy theories. I'm like, that's so weird. Like, just look up history. It's
oh my god.
You
yeah,
know.
I've seen a few conspiracies about the tunnels too, from like ancient aliens and stuff like that, and I'm like, I don't know about that.
It kind of all ties together with, the first church. We got to see what they think is the first Christian church,
Mm-hmm.
and then these cities where Christians hid. And then after that, did we go to the pottery place?
I don't know if that was the same day. We did so much in such a short period of time, and they really filled up each day before dropping us back at the hotel. But yeah, one of the days we were in Cappadocia, we did this pottery tour at Sultan Ceramics, which at first we thought was super cool because they showed us all the really intricate designs in the big oven or whatever where they burn all the pottery.
And one of the guys was like, did a piece of pottery right in front of us.
He did a really elaborate, again, on the pottery wheel, like molding it into all different shapes, which was super cool.
Basically, it's like their factory, so we got to go all through it and see like the different steps in the process. Because then there was like another room where they're painting it,
Mm-hmm.
and their family has their own line of pottery.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, after you get all the educational part, which the educational part was phenomenal, I thought it was super interesting. I mean, I've never done pottery, so it was all new to me. They take you to a gift shop, and this is where we went wrong. There's one room in the gift shop which is their pottery, and should be more expensive.
The Iznik.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But all the other pottery is the same stuff that you can find in town.
Or like anywhere else in the entire country, basically.
Or maybe on Amazon, I don't know. So I picked out something, and I paid $200 for it.
Something crazy.
I paid a lot of money for it. It was really beautiful.
A really beautiful dish.
And then we leave. And we go to dinner. And then after dinner, we're walking around, and I see that exact dish in the window of a store, except it's $2. 2 USD, 4 USD. I mean, it is dirt cheap. I'm like... And what we learned after some research is that this is a common scam in Turkey at the pottery places, is that the price says 200, but that should have been 200 Turkish lira. But what we don't realize is they kind of farm you out. So they attach, one worker is attached to you, and they figure out where you're from.
Mm-hmm.
They listen to your accent. So they would tell us, oh, it's 200 USD. That's in USD. Well, we go to Mexico all the time. Lots of that's in USD. Belize, sometimes that's in USD. Panama, USD. So it's not unheard of for it to be in USD, depending on where we're at. I mean, Asia, that's unusual, but I don't know. It's a tourist trap, so. But it should have been Turkish lira. Well, then we talked to some other people in the group, and they were like, we paid in pounds.
Oh no.
Because they had a different handler stuck on them, so they paid even more because the pound is like double the dollar that year. So I told my guide the next morning, I'm like, hey, I know what you've done, because the guide's in on it. They took us there on purpose, and I'm sure they get a kickback. I'm like, we want to go back, and I want a refund. And the guy's kind of like, what? Oh, we're going to do the tour all day. And so we do the whole tour, and then finally he's dropping us off, and I'm like, are we going back to the pottery place so I can get a refund? This is hundreds of dollars, y'all. And so he's like, yeah, well, we had been in the country long enough that we caught some vibes. And so both my boys went with me. One at the time was an adult, and one was a minor, but they're pretty, even the one that's a minor, he plays football, he's a pretty good sized kid. And so they went with me. So we go back to the pottery place, and he's like, oh, what's the problem? It's the same guy that BS'd me the day before. He knows exactly who I am. And so I'm like, look, man, you sold this to me in USD when it should have been Turkish lira. This should be like $4, not 200 or something. I mean, maybe it was $20. I don't know, but it was a huge price difference. I'm like, I just want to return it. And you could tell it just wasn't going to happen. And I'm very frustrated. And I just looked at Noah, your brother, and I'm trying to remember how old he must have been 22. And I didn't even have to say anything to him. He realized right then he needed to speak for me. And he was like, look, and he basically says exactly what I've said. And they're like, yes, sir. And I got a refund, and the problem was solved. But I was like, geez, But that wasn't the only time I kind of got that treated like a woman. I mean, we had to cover up to go in the mosque. The boys didn't. Okay, that's one thing. I was unable to get my money back, but the man of the group was.
But barely a man.
Yeah, barely a man. Well, and keep that in mind. So he's 22 on this trip, I think.
In 2022.
He might be 20. No, he's only 21.
Yeah, barely a man.
We get to our first hotel to check in, and they're like, we don't have a reservation for you. I'm like, well, that can't be. Now, keep in mind, I reserved all the rooms.
Of course.
And I paid on my credit card, on my rewards card, my travel rewards card. And they're like, no, we don't have any reservations for you. Could it be under any other name? And I'm like, I don't know what other name it could be in. And then they start like naming off some of the people they're expecting that day. And well, one of them's Noah and his last name. I'm divorced, so the kids have a different last name than me. And I'm like, why are room reservations in my 21-year-old son's name and not my name when I booked the entire trip? And it was that way, I think, at every hotel we went to. I think all of our reservations were in his name because he was the oldest man in the group. So anyway, but the point of that story is that in Turkey, it is illegal to charge USD or any other currency than Turkish lira. And we learned that just through Google research. So I got my money back. I thought about going and buying the pottery that I saw for super cheap, which was the same thing. But then I was so bitter and mad. I was like, I'm going to resent that pottery. I wish I bought it. But it took me years to get to the point where I wish I had bought it. It's this beautiful blue, like ceramic serving dish, like a meze platter serving dish. So there are all these different pieces. And so it was really beautiful. I mean, I thought it was worth $200.
Perfect for mom's chips and salsa addiction.
I love me some chips and salsa. Other than that, Cappadocia was wonderful. Well, the rug things.
Yeah, we encountered a similar scam a little further down the road. We stopped at this factory where
they're making Turkish rugs.
Yeah, where a bunch of women are weaving Turkish rugs. And again,
by hand.
The demonstration was really cool. Once again, I'm really glad we got to see the process of how they make these famous Turkish rugs. And so we got to see like the silk that they use and the women hand weaving the rugs. But then they give us this whole.
They take you into like a back room,
Mm-hmm.
and then they hard sell you.
Yes.
Like, look at my rug, touch my rug.
Yes, feel
it.
Feel the rugs.
Take your shoes off, walk on it.
They roll them out all over the floor.
They are whipping these rugs out at a record-breaking rate. I mean, 1 rug, 2 rugs, 3 rugs.
Yeah, take off your shoes. So I take off my shoes and I'm feeling the rugs, but I'm not gonna feel like 100 rugs. What do you want me to do? Roll around on the floor? I don't know.
No, my oldest is just like.
And we had no intention of buying anything when we entered the place. We just thought we were getting a tour, and then we're there for like, I don't know, 30 minutes just being shown.
Much longer, yeah.
Rugs.
And they'll give you like a treat and some tea or something.
Oh,
because
yeah,
they want you to shop. Well, I'm not planning on eating or drinking any of the food there, but then we're there so long, I might as well have a snack. I'm like, well, we're stuck here because the tour guy gets a kickback if we buy something. So we're here till somebody buys something, but nobody in our group did because we're on a group trip. There were certain days where the same people were on the trip with us, and then the next day it might be different people with us because they've taken different people have booked different trips, and they just kind of group you up, I guess, depending on what city, what day you're on in your trip. And so, and then one of the days we were by ourselves, and I think it's because I complained so much about the shopping scams and I refused to go to another shop. Well, that ruins a big part of, I think, their income. So then we got to go on a private, we had an entire day that was completely private to us. And I think maybe potentially that's a big shopping day. Maybe there's multiple shopping stops or something. And they're just like, this lady's going to ruin it for all of us. Because I was actively telling the other people, I'm like, well, you shouldn't have paid in pounds. So.
Yeah. But yeah, one of those days where we took a different course was when we stopped in that village, right? That was mostly empty. Again, a bunch of those beautiful cave houses carved into the rock, except for the most part that town was almost entirely empty, and a ton of those old cave houses and those properties were actually for sale. Now our tour guide, again, the tour guides for the most part were really great and had so much information about literally everything, but you kind of hit a wall. I mean, you are in Turkey, and some things they just aren't allowed to.
They believe certain things. They've been told certain things and brought up to believe certain things.
Yeah, so they're telling us the reason the village is empty is because it used to be filled with a bunch of Greek people. A bunch of Greek people lived in Turkey. A bunch of Turkish people lived in Greece. But if you don't know anything about Turkey and Greece, there's a whole rivalry and a history there. But as opposed to calling it ethnic cleansing or displacement, our tour guide called it a population exchange. This whole town was empty because we just exchanged the Greeks. But it turns out
they kicked them all out.
There weren't actually.
They took their homes. And
there weren't as many Turkish people in Greece as there were Greek people in Turkey. So when they kicked out all these Greek people, now this whole town is empty and for sale. But yeah, no, it was just a population exchange, totally peaceful.
It was interesting talking to the one tour guy because he was just like, well, Greece wants to go to war with us. I'm like, do you know any Greek people? I'm like, dude, we've been to Greece. I love Greece. I'm like, I've never met a Greek person that wants to go to war in Turkey. I was like, Greece is like a vibe, dude.
Yeah. And to be clear, we had numerous different tour guides over the trip. Again, we started in Istanbul, and that was a whole separate tour. And then during our 6-day tour, we had 3 different guides throughout, and all were very informative, but 2 of them had some interesting things to say about the Greeks and about just really there was no ethnic cleansing of the Greeks.
Well, remember about the Armenians?
Or of the Armenians, yeah. He was like, show me evidence that they did anything to the Armenians. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm looking at pictures on Google right now. I'm pretty sure.
No, we didn't.
I can see a picture on Google right now. I don't know what to tell you, bro.
But again, we're not there to discuss Armenia with you, but...
they would bring it up.
Yeah, so, yeah, he's like the driver and the tour guide, or is he just the tour guide? Yeah, no, I think
he drove us for a long time.
Yeah, so, and he's telling the kids all the stuff, and I just text the kids, I'm like, none of this is true.
Yeah.
I happen to read the Sandcastle Girls. I know a lot about what happened to the Armenian people, and it was pretty bad, so.
Yeah.
I'm like, none of this is true, but we're not going to get in an argument with the tour guide. So,
yeah.
So that is something to keep in mind, though, sometimes when I would say, we've been to other Middle Eastern countries, and I've noticed that we're often told some stuff that is from a very skewed version of history. We're very, what do you call that one? That's just a very
Well, it's skewed. I mean, it's
Yeah.
propaganda essentially. I mean,
But they believe it. I mean, that's what they've been told. That's what they learned at school.
Yeah.
You're not going to win an argument with these people.
again, because you can remember most of these were highly educated people as well. They
Yeah.
knew a lot, and yet they still on these
Yeah.
one issue, they're like no.
Yes, because to become a tour guide in Turkey, that is a program that you go through. You earn a certification. These people have training, classes. I mean, they have a deep knowledge on the places they're taking you to, but some of their history is a little untrue. So
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. As with anywhere, you could say the same about a lot of American history, but yeah, it's
very true.
Anywhere you go, there's a lot to be said about the way people are brought up and the way people's cultures tell history.
And we just happen to have been to a lot of countries, so we can say, well, we know that's not true. We've been there. Like, I don't think that at all.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know. Like sometimes, especially if you've got your kids with you on a tour and you're being told certain things, and you're like, I don't know if that's true. Look it up, and then maybe debrief at the end of the day. So this is not the only country I've texted the group and said, none of this is true.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, and I have a history degree, so that's probably a little different too. But yeah, so that brings you to just the first few days of our tour. We know that this podcast is getting a little long, so we have decided
to split this into 2 parts so that we can continue and talk about Antalya, Ephesus, which was amazing, as well as Pamukkale, where we went paragliding. I can't wait to talk about that. And then we finish out in Izmir and Istanbul in part 2.
All right, we can't wait for you to join us for next week when we talk more about Turkey.